Hi everyone, I'm Nerd Bummer.
And I'm Tactic, and we're two of the hosts of the Online Warriors podcast.
Our podcast started as a way for three best friends to keep in touch and discuss their nerdy hobbies like movies, gaming, tech, and more.
Since then, we've grown into a great community. Every Wednesday, we chat about the latest nerdy news before getting hands-on with our weekly nerdy adventures.
And don't forget our high-stakes trivia game. Come join the fun at onlinewarriorspodcast.com and every major podcast platform.
And now, back to Collateral Cinema.
I'm Beau Maddox.
And I'm Ashley Chancellor.
And this is Collateral Cinema.
Welcome to Collateral Cinema, the only movie podcast that matters, where we focus on good movies, bad movies, and everything else in between in the world of cinema. We are podcasting straight from somewhere in South Texas, and yes, my friends, we are a 420 friendly podcast, so whatever you have, smoke it if you've got it. Welcome to yet another At the Movies edition of Collateral Cinema, and for once, we're recording together again under one roof.
Yeah, Ash came through from Houston, and he is here in studio, live, and everything.
Yeah, for the first time since I moved out there. So, I plan to come out at least once a month, so probably try to schedule some of our recordings around that time. I don't know, maybe next season we can try to make those like double recording nights and just get like a couple of our episodes knocked out, together.
That might be the best way to really go about it, to tell the truth, like, especially if we're going to take the time to, set up the Zoom and everything. I mean, yeah, we may as well just do it that way.
Yeah, maybe we'll kind of try to plan around that, primarily. But anyway, like I said, another At the Movies episode, another At the Movies episode on a Marvel movie.
Yep.
We do a lot of those, not every one of them, but Guardians 3 was one of the ones that, like, from the get-go we were gonna do. Like, this is the Guardians franchise, I think, out of the MCU is one of, like, the best like sub-series, like the Guardians films are all just really spectacular, and James Gunn is, of course, masterful at his craft with these movies.
Yeah, James Gunn just approaches these characters with so much love and so much reverence that, I mean, it really just kind of spills out in all three of these movies,
Yeah.
Even though I'm going to say, this movie, it's entertaining, but it's not nearly as, like, colorful. I mean, we'll get into that here in a little bit. It's not nearly as colorful as the other two, but, I mean, it still has some of the charm left and whatnot, and it takes a much more somber tone in certain places, which
more than some of the charm, but yes, in a much more serious direction. I think that was known from the get-go, when we started hearing James Gunn kind of start to come out about what he was focusing on this movie and with the initial trailers and everything. Like, I think we knew, which is interesting because, the last MCU film and the last Phase 5 film that came out, which was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, was also the more somber, more serious conclusion to a trilogy of comedy films.
Yeah, but I'm just going to say Ant-Man and Quantumania just didn't do it for me in so many ways, I
liked it, but I will say that this movie has, I think, that level of quality that Marvel fans have been waiting for. And I say that as someone who's actually thoroughly enjoyed almost everything that's come out of Phase 4 and Phase 5 even. But like this movie, I think, like, has that level of quality to it, at least in my opinion, that kind of makes it universally well-liked, at least by the fans, by the audience members.
Well, the thing about this is that James Gunn really kind of made these into the most cinematically cogent films through all three movies out of the entire MCU. You know what I mean? I mean, the characters have like real arcs and feel like real people here, which, you can't really say that about certain other MCU films in my eyes, especially with like how Quantumania, it felt really forced to me. But here you don't have that kind of forced heart there, and this movie has a lot of heart to it. And oh, by the way, it's also the most vegan movie ever. It's totally vegan.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wonder James Gunn's like affiliation. Like I don't know if he's vegan or if he's involved in any like animal activism.
Well, FYI, he started back on Troma, and if anyone knows anything about Troma releases, especially like Sergeant Kabuki Man or Tromeo or Juliet or Toxic Avenger, or anything that Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hertz did, they've always actually advocated for like PETA and whatnot. There's even been PETA ads deep inside certain Troma DVDs. Specifically releases that are made where movies are specifically made by Kaufman and Hertz.
Interesting. I mean,
I kind of feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe James Gunn has a little affiliation there. I'm not sure, but oh man, the scenes where we look at Rocket's past here are really some of the most heartrending moments I've seen in the MCU, probably since Infinity War and the Snap and whatnot, or the entirety of Wakanda Forever. I mean, this is really just showing full bore, what animals are experiencing in mainly being tested upon for science. And, it's I know it's a very touchy ethical issue. We're not really going to get into it that deep, but I mean, the way that Gunn really presents it here is very heartfelt, very empathetic. And, you really see just the cycle of abuse that the high evolutionary is just completely just wailing down upon these animals with, and yeah, you really kind of see what people who are probably more of the animal liberation variety, that's how they feel about this sort of thing, and maybe in the many ways also with agricultural farms and with animal agriculture and whatnot, kind of the same way. But yeah, like I said, the way that James Gunn approaches it is very empathetic, very poignant, and I mean it takes it seriously.
Oh, I mean, I'm going to be serious. Like when I watched this in the theater, and I watched this originally alone. I went to go see this maybe a couple nights after it came out. I was kind of still moving to Houston and getting settled in, but found a local theater that was basically empty on a Monday or Tuesday night, and checked this out. And I will tell you, I was teary-eyed the entire movie. Just right from the beginning, starting off with Creep by Radiohead for some reason, just kind of connecting with these characters, specifically at their points in their character journeys, respectively. And I will say that, the heart of that are the flashback scenes with Rocket, which was something that we saw coming. I mean, it's something that was alluded to in the previous Guardians films, but it was something that Rocket specifically never talked about. And it was something that, we still had yet to see the extent of, and kind of really turning this into Rocket's movie, despite the fact that he doesn't have as much of a part to play in this one throughout most of the film.
Yeah, he's incapacitated for
during
most
the
of the
current
film.
events.
During the current events, he's incapacitated.
But we keep getting these flashbacks to his life throughout the film and kind of seeing, just the horror that went on. And, we can even kind of see where some of it's going. We're introduced to certain characters. And, I think a lot of us kind of already know where the movie is going to end up with, especially knowing the character as he is, knowing the character as he was explored in the last film in Volume 2, where Rocket was, where we kind of got to see some of his, one of the major subplots of the movie was his abrasiveness towards his newfound family and him just not really being able to connect with other people. And this movie explains why.
Absolutely. I mean, when you go through what he went through here, I mean, which, like I said, if you've seen the trailer or anything, you know. Like we watched Doug Walker's review. He said, like, yeah, you see the trailer, you see these scenes, you know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. But, I mean, it was really a great way to kind of dive into Rocket's psyche, you know, because he was always the most aloof character out of the entire group, you know, and, you know, for him to finally have his own kind of requiem and whatnot, more or less, in this final movie it's something to behold.
Yeah, and what's great is like characters like him and Nebula, played by Karen Gillan, who we'll probably get into here in a bit, but you know, are characters who you can tell have these planned character arcs that James Gunn was laying the foundation for very early on. All of this feels like it was 100% the journey that he anticipated for these characters, and this is 100% a satisfying conclusion to those character journeys, and that applies to all of the characters, actually. Drax, Mantis, Peter, you know, it's like you can definitely tell that there's a lot of heart put into this. I know one thing that James Gunn has said in the past is that Rocket is kind of in many ways representative of his own struggles in his life, and like, you know, kind of the way he treats some relationships, and he identifies with a lot of those character aspects of Rocket, which of course were shared by Yondu as well, and that was a point of the last movie.
Absolutely. I mean, these are all movies that are about, you know, just the evolution of a bunch of disparate individuals who came together and made a family.
And are not traditional superheroes.
They're not traditional superheroes either. But
most of them don't even have powers, you know?
Exactly. But, I mean, it's just they become the most capable people or individuals in the galaxy. And this is them finally just kind of breaking down a little bit. You know, they're like, Rocket's past is coming back to him. Quill is just completely beside himself about Gamora.
Yeah.
Like, Gamora is off being a Ravager. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so we have the 2014 variant of Gamora, and I know that for a lot of casual audiences, it may be hard to kind of remember the specific stories that are going on with some of these characters, because now you have not just the Guardians trilogy, but you also have the events of Infinity War and Endgame, which are actually really important here in these character moments. And so, yeah, we have this 2014 variant of Gamora that is basically Gamora as she was at the very beginning of the first Guardians film, and just hadn't gone through that metamorphosis and bonding with this family. And so we're seeing interactions between her and, you know, kind of the rest of the team who sort of accepted her as dead at this point, and Peter, who is, you know, just kind of desperately clinging on to that one thing that he had.
Absolutely, and not doing very well at it. You know, I mean,
no,
particularly.
It's kind of a gag throughout the movie, is that, you know, is like he is kind of immature about it, and there's just this dynamic going on between them that's just kind of like, no, man. But I think what's interesting though is that, you know, it's a great way to take these characters, and I think that, you know, like his relationship with her, his relationship with Rocket, again, you know, who's kind of a central focus of this film, and, you know, them having been at odds the way that families are, but really kind of having accepted the bond that they share, you know, and the lengths that they'll go. And I think that there's a lot of that. And this movie is very bittersweet because, for better or for worse, this is the end of this iteration of Guardians. Specifically, like, we are not going to see this team again. Bautista and Zoe Saldaña have both said that they're permanently retired as these characters, you know. So it's like, and James Gunn is not going to be involved with the Guardians anymore.
Yeah, so it's probably best that we go ahead and just leave it on a note that, you know, I mean, they do what they do best. You know, the Guardians do what they do best, and then they finally just say, hey, you know, maybe we don't need to do this anymore. But especially with Bautista. Bautista said that he was just tired of doing this shit, you know?
he was tired of having to put on the makeup, and I think he wanted a more dramatic role. But I think one thing he also said is that this movie kind of introduces the perfect end to his character that he wouldn't want to ruin by coming back.
Yeah, he has a great ending. By the way, we won't spoil it here, but it is exactly the ending that he deserves. You know.
Yeah,
like absolutely.
I feel pretty satisfied with all of the character endings here. You know, it's like, and a lot of it again is very bittersweet, and it's very this film is a real tearjerker throughout.
Yeah, certainly.
And also, the sense of this is the final movie, so you don't know who's going to survive this. You're really worried throughout the film. You're like, at any point, you know, this is the end of this iteration of characters, so nobody is safe.
Absolutely.
And so there's just kind of this tension throughout. And I love how the movie still manages to maintain the charm of the last films, despite taking on a more serious tone. Those comedic elements that the Guardians movies have relied on, that James Gunn's scripts basically thrive on, is still present in this film. It's just over a different tone. And I think it's kind of interesting because, you know, again, comparing it to like Ant-Man and the Wasp, is that it's a very it approaches that much differently, despite the fact that there's a lot of parallels there. I also saw some parallels with Thor: Love and Thunder, this being, you know, a more standalone film in Phase 4 and Phase 5. And obviously, you know, Thor: Love and Thunder, while I liked it personally, wasn't well liked by everyone, but this one is. So obviously it's like, you know, whether or not we're dealing with standalone stories or, you know, more massively connecting stories is not so much. It's the script, and James Gunn has never faltered with that. In fact, I think one thing that's interesting about James Gunn and the way that he approaches his Marvel movies is that they're entirely his thing. I mean, he talks about how, like, it's well known that within the MCU there's a lot of like improvisation going on, of characters kind of basically jumping in and changing things. And I've heard that with the Guardians movies, that's just not the case. James Gunn has complete control over everything, and that's just the way that ecosystem works best.
And it makes for a more concise filmmaking experience, you know, a film-going experience, I should say. And it makes you really just kind of really care about all the characters, even the characters like Kraglin and Cosmo and whatnot. I mean, you care about them, even though they don't have like particularly large arcs in this movie. It's like they're still present and they still get their moments.
And is Cosmo bad dog?
Oh, it's Cosmo bad dog. No, you take it back. You take back.
I mean, we also have new characters like Will Poulter as Adam Warlock, who, you know, does kind of feel like somebody that could be taken out of the film and it wouldn't make too much of a difference, except for the fact that he's really fucking good.
He's
every
amazing.
time he's on screen.
He's amazing, man. I mean, he's Will fucking Poulter. I mean, you know, he's one of those actors kind of like Paul Dano, sort of. Like, you know, no matter what you cast him in, he's going to be great in it.
Wait, you guys are getting paid?
Exactly. Yeah, he's in that classic meme. But yeah, his character is just essentially an overpowered synthetic man-child
the most
thing.
Like traditional superhero, I guess, in the movie, despite not being a hero, more of an anti-hero.
Yeah, exactly. He even has a cape and everything. I mean, he looks the part.
Yeah.
He looks like he almost looks kind of close to someone like Vision, kind of.
Yeah, actually,
you know,
in a lot of
little
ways. Yeah, so he's this like synthetic human that was shown, I believe, in the post-credits or mid-credits scene of Guardians 2, if I'm not mistaken. We got a hint that the Adam Warlock stuff was coming, and I actually really like what they do with this character with the film. Again, I mean, with the overall plot, it's funny because it doesn't feel like he absolutely had to be there, and yet you're glad he is because he's just so good. And also, it's cool to get that character on screen, you know?
Yeah, and also the arc that he goes throughout the movie is not half bad. Honestly.
No, it's written well,
it
you
is.
know?
Yeah.
I enjoy every minute of him on screen.
He does. He goes through a real arc through this movie. You know, which I mean, lesser MCU movies would totally just drop the ball on that. But
yeah,
you know.
and then the other new character, the big one, of course, the High Evolutionary, played by Chukwudi or Iwuji. I may not be pronouncing that right. I'm doing my best. He was in Peacemaker. I loved his performance in that, I will say. Another, So, and I love how James Gunn seems likes to, use a lot of the same actors. But going back to, like the stuff that's going on with Rocket in these flashbacks, I like how we really kind of get a distaste for this villain, and we get this hatred for this villain early on in the movie without even having, really getting a lot of time with the current version of him and during these events, but just building up the detest because of what's happening under his, what he's making happen to Rocket and these other characters.
Even Nebula straight up said, like, of what he did to Rocket, like, this is worse than what Thanos did to me. This is worse than what Thanos did. It's like,
yeah,
holy crap.
Yeah, he is just absolutely detestable. You hate this guy. And I think this is actually another fucking great villain from recent Marvel movies. I mean, put him up there with Gore.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, Kang.
It does kind of feel like he's just chewing up scenery left and right,
Yeah.
We were gone for quite a while. But no matter what happens next, the galaxy still needs its guardians. Hello, we come in peace. Come on, Drax. Seriously, dude? No!
Don't forget where we came from.
We have been running our whole lives. Pete, I'm done running.
Kill a few people.
Kill no people.
Kill one guy, one stupid guy who no one loves.
Now you're just making it sad.
And what's great is that this is somebody who is regarded as a god by some civilizations. He created the sovereign race, who were a major antagonistic force in the last movie. So it's great. He created this entire civilization, and if like he even says, at one point, like, I will end your entire civilization, as is my right to do as your maker. And it's like, holy shit, like this guy isn't fucking around. Like he is basically a god to them, and he can raise entire planets at a whim if he so wants to. And he's creating life forms. And I think what's actually really interesting is his fascination with Rocket, because Rocket's the only thing that he's ever created that actually knew something he didn't.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. No, and that drove him mad.
Yeah,
it drove him mad.
And again, we don't want to go too far into spoilers, but I mean that's kind of his character motivation. Here is that he's trying to create the perfect society. It's kind of like another Thanos in some ways, except he just, he hates the state of things and wants to, create this other thing that he deems as perfection, and it's just. This guy, but is so bad, but the actor is so good.
It really is. Yeah. And let's talk about some of the cameos here. We have, of course, Sylvester Stallone as he's like the lead Ravager.
Yeah, reprising his role from Guardians 2.
Yeah.
Stallone, of course, he's not as prominent in this one, but he's there, and it's great to have him every time you're like, hey, it's Stallone.
Hey, Stallone, the Italian stallion, bro.
Nathan Fillion finally comes in for a cameo.
Yeah, he does.
More than a cameo, it's kind of a supporting role.
Yeah, more or less, for a good maybe 10 or 15 minutes of the movie, maybe.
Yeah.
Or less, maybe. Yeah, his role is interesting. And somewhere in there, I don't know if we really saw Pete Davidson, and Lloyd Kaufman himself is apparently somewhere in this movie. But I don't know where, though. I haven't really seen. Oh, I don't know. Maybe that's him right there. Maybe he's one of the scientists. Maybe, but I might be wrong.
I think they are creations of the High Evolution.
Oh, they're creations. Okay, so they might be in makeup, I would imagine. They're probably in heavy makeup.
Yeah. D. Bradley Baker does a voice role in this movie.
Yeah, really? What?
Yeah, which is interesting. Daniela Melchior from the Suicide Squad. Let's see. Tara Strong replaces Miley Cyrus, actually.
Okay.
Tara Strong. The voice cast of, the Rocket's friends, of course. Asim Chaudhry as Teefs and Michaela Hoover as Floor.
Nice.
Of course, Lila, who's Linda Cardellini.
Linda Cardellini. Oh, that's awesome, man. Lila is a fantastic character in her own right.
Which is funny because a lot of these actors I named have actually played roles in other Marvel movies, including Linda Cardellini or even James Gunn Marvel films.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to see a director like James Gunn, kind of, getting, much like Kevin Smith and Quentin Tarantino before him, or even Waters or Lynch, just get their own little troupe of actors that they can kind of bring in and, put in their movies, and that they're going to be good in them, no matter what.
Yeah,
so,
as in multiple different roles. That's what's great.
Absolutely.
To kind of see actors from other James Gunn films kind of come in. And I like that he relies on that cast. And from what I've heard, he's taking that into his further DC work.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, he did so well. He did really, really, really well with the Suicide Squad.
And Peacemaker.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to what he's going to do in the future. It's going to be really... He's doing a Superman movie, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, he's doing the Superman movie.
Yeah.
He's going to actually be heading, the DC cinematic.
Yeah, that's right. Take that, Zack Snyder. Take that, Snyderverse.
Yeah, so, and I honestly, I trust James Gunn because look at what a good job he's done with Marvel and what he's done with DC. And sad to see him leave Marvel, but I mean, he's taking on a bigger role somewhere else where I think he's needed. And, I'm actually really excited. So, and I don't think he's counted out for doing other Marvel movies. I think he said like he wouldn't do another Guardians movie, but like if someone approached him for something else, he would be willing to do it. But he's going to be very busy, I'm sure.
Give him an Avengers movie, for fuck's sake.
Seriously.
Give him an Avengers movie. That's what I want to see. I want to see James Gunn's Avengers.
Interestingly enough, I think he recently came out and said that like he wouldn't have written Star-Lord the way that the character was written in Infinity War.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people took issue with, which is funny because like I can actually see the character going the direction he did, but James Gunn came out and said like he wouldn't have necessarily wrote him that way. And so I think that it just goes to show the connection that he has with these characters. Even some of the more recent ones, like Karen Gillan's Nebula or Palm Clementieff's Mantis.
Yeah, both of whom are fantastic characters in this movie. Like, I mean, Nebula is actually like she's a good straight man for all the all the hilarity that's going on around her,
And someone else who's gone through an immense character arc. Again, something that feels very planned from the start. I mean, she started off as someone who also was very aloof and hostile, outright to someone who is very much a part of this family.
And not to mention her own family with Gamora. you know?
Right.
So there's that other issue.
Right. And see, and then like this is a point in the characters' lives where, at least on Gamora's side, like they weren't reconciled. So, you know, that kind of comes to a head in this movie. And it's really interesting to kind of see this version of Gamora forced into this group of characters and to see the way that, you know, Nebula works that. And then, you know, of course, you have Mantis, who was revealed in the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Fantastic special. You should go check it out, actually, if you haven't. Where it was revealed that she's a half-sister of Peter. And then that's an important plot point of this movie, or subplot point. It's important context. And it makes sense, right? I mean, Ego is... it would make sense that Ego was her dad, too. I mean, why wouldn't he be? Like, why would she be there, like, serving him if he wasn't one of her... She wasn't one of his kids. So, it's kind of cool to kind of see, you know, the way that her character is written into this plot, and the relationship she has with Peter and the other members of the Guardians, and her own personal journey, right?
Absolutely.
Which is something that I think that, you know, kind of comes to a head at the film. And so all of these characters are going through their own stories at this point. And it's just kind of like, this is what happens, you know, like the first Guardians movie was the formation of a family. The second film dealt with the struggles of a family, you know, and then this is just kind of like, at what point does the, you know, family bond conflict with your own personal journey? And, you know,
exactly. And also the realization that sometimes, no matter how close you are to said family, like sometimes you gotta kind of leave them for a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to. So.
Yeah, and you know, and it, again, extremely bittersweet. But I will say that this is, in my opinion, the best MCU film we've had since No Way Home. It's really, really good. I actually really, really liked it. And I'm kind of struggling just to if I like this more than Guardians 1 or not, because it's really, really good. This feels like something that should definitely be up there on my list.
Definitely. Only thing I'm going to say is that I kind of feel like the color grading maybe could have been a little better. It's not nearly as sharp as it was in the last two films. And honestly, it kind of feels like he was trying to go for the Suicide Squad look with that really overwashed, overexposed look and everything. But, I mean, I don't really feel like it worked that well here. And I heard some people saying that, you know, they had some issues with the script, and namely that the humor is feeling a little dated, you know, and I think that's valid, but it didn't really take away from any of my enjoyment of the movie. I mean, it was still a great group dynamic, and it was still a great, just a great script overall.
And it's very much the same brand of humor as the first two Guardians films. So mileage may vary. It may feel dated to you. Personally, you know, I love these characters. I love their dynamic. I can't get enough of it. So for me, I'm loving all of it. But I can see where somebody might, you know, it doesn't really offer anything new per se. It's not going to be like if you weren't like absolutely blown away by James Gunn's first two Guardians movies, you know, this one's not going to do something different for you, but it is an absolutely satisfying conclusion to this trilogy of films. And, you know, some of these characters can show up later, but they're not going to show up later together in this way again, you know?
No, they're
and not definitely not with all of them. So I think that that's what's important, and that's what makes this film just a perfect send-off, I think, for these characters, and a good standalone film to put on the Phase 5 list.
Absolutely. I at least agree that much. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of my final thoughts, I should say. What about you, Beau?
I think that it is a fine ending to this trilogy of movies. It's a fine ending to everybody's character arcs. I mean, yeah, maybe some of the issues with the script and the color grading, they could have been better, but yeah, it was still a very entertaining movie. You know, what can I say?
Yeah, this is fantastic. So, and if anything, I feel like this does sort of revitalize the MCU somewhat, and it's like there still are good stories. It's just like, I mean, I've liked all of it, but even if you haven't been a fan of the previous stuff, I feel like this is something that it is really going to speak to a lot of people. It has, from what I've heard.
Only thing I'll say to that is we'll see.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think next we've got the Marvels coming up. So, and what's funny, interestingly enough, I think a lot of people who weren't fans of Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel are actually kind of seem to have a little bit more interest in this upcoming project, which is nice. I'm kind of ambivalent about it. I mean, I liked Captain Marvel. I thought Miss Marvel was pretty good too. I mean, I'm not like super excited about it, but obviously I'm going to be there in the theaters to watch it, and it's going to be fun. I mean, I think at this phase we're also getting a Blade movie,
and that'll be interesting to see,
if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. I think that's the next thing that I'm actually like really excited about from Marvel. Besides on the film side of things, anyway. Let's see. Yeah, so the Marvels, Captain America, New World Order, Thunderbolts, and then Blade. Thunderbolts sounds interesting, actually. It's going to have
it does
a lot of like the anti-heroes and honestly some of the better characters from their respective franchises, like Florence Pugh and David Harbour.
Yeah, Florence Pugh is great.
I mean, obviously getting to see Sam Wilson in his own film, I mean, obviously feels earned.
Definitely.
But yeah, this movie really, really worked for me. Like I said, I was teary-eyed throughout. If you're an animal lover, you might have a hard time with this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know Beau can attest to that, but I mean, Beau's a vegan, and I mean, you still, I don't think it drove you past.
No, I got the message, and it's a solid message to put in a mainstream movie like this.
Yeah. So, hell yeah, man. So stick around for the rest of, well, I guess this is just the season finale.
Yeah, season finale. Sorry for the delay on that, everybody. There's just been a lot of shit going on, But not to mention that it took a while to actually record it, but it'll be out very soon.
We'll have that out very soon. So we're going to get our season finale out on Corvette Summer, and then just kind of get into some of the interseason stuff before we start up season 7 in October.
Yeah, so definitely look for a lot more director's cut content. Look for we're going to try to start pumping out Patreon commentaries a little more often, so join us on our Patreon at $1 and $5 tiers, and we have a merch store open. The design on the shirts may be kind of a little janky, but we just said, fuck it. Let's go ahead and open it up. We can get some new designs on there very soon. And yeah, we'll go ahead and put a link in the show notes for you. So yeah, maybe pick up a mug or a tote or a shirt or something like that. And also find us on Good Pods, where you can rank us. You can give us a 5-star rating, and that will let us climb the ranks there, which is always a good thing. It's always good to chart on Good Pods. Mm-hmm. And also look for our Patreon, like I said. So
yeah, we should be doing a Morbius commentary very soon.
Very soon, yes.
On the Collateral Gaming side of things, we are also doing our season finale on The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. That was actually supposed to be out this week, but we're just kind of trying to schedule that and get everybody together for the episode. We'll still have it out very, very soon. The game just came out a week ago, and it is consuming my life. It is so fucking good.
So that's why the season finale isn't done.
Yeah, I've just been playing Zelda, man.
God damn it, Ash.
Dude, I took off a whole 4-day weekend just to play Zelda, so I did nothing else but play Zelda.
Wow. God damn it,
Since
man.
then, we've just had other stuff going on, so... but yeah, stick around for that. Part 1 will be out very, very soon. That's going to be our spoiler-free review. And then part 2, where we get into like the meat of the game, that'll come out when it comes out. I mean, I might even like kind of push that to June, depending on how long it takes everybody to do everything that we can in this game. But I want to get like the experience of not even necessarily 100%ing it, but just completing as much of it as I think is like as much of it as I did Breath of the Wild anyway. I'll put it that way. I never actually got all the Korok seeds in Breath of the Wild. I see, like, that's like the one thing that like I might not do, but I'll do like everything else.
Let's do plumbers don't wear ties. Damn it.
Yeah. That's gonna happen at some point, whether that's in interseason thing or whether that comes out next season.
And also look for some more live streams coming your way. Like also even on my side, I just got my laptop set up and everything. So I'm thinking of maybe doing a playthrough of the first Phoenix Wright game. Probably. Yeah, probably might even have Robert join me on that. So look for that. And also we're going to do Apollo Justice pretty soon, right?
Yeah, we're going to do a Let's Play on Apollo Justice.
We're going to do a Let's Play on that one. That's going to be interesting. So
Patreon commentary. That'll be the next Patreon commentary for Collateral Gaming.
For Collateral Gaming? Okay, I got you.
Obviously now I'm like, man, I'm going to have to do Tears of the Kingdom, but probably later.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's pretty much all of our socials, right? Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check us out there.
Yep. And check out our Patreon, and you can get access to exclusive full-length movie commentaries. The last one we did was what? Bloodsport?
Bloodsport.
Yeah,
Kumite. Kumite. Kumite.
Kumite.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, and also we are going to definitely have some more At the Movies episodes coming up. Because there's definitely going to be a lot of movies, at least once a month, that are going to be something like, hey, yeah, we got to do this. I know, like, we really had planned to do, like, Creed 3 and Scream 6 because, I mean, we've been doing, like, the Scream and the Rocky franchises. We've explored both of those somewhat. So it's like, it made sense for us to do that. So I'd like to kind of, there's a lot of films that came out this year that I'd like to touch on in some way. Almost kind of want to consider doing, like something either at the end of the season or at the end of the year where it's, like, just kind of a review of all the movies that the theaters
It would probably be best to do it at the end of the year.
And then I still think we should do like a director's cut on like the Scream
absolutely.
Kind of get through all the movies.
Yeah,
including Scream 6.
Definitely. Yeah. Then give our Scream 6 review. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, that being said, I've been Ashley Chancellor.
And I have been Beau Maddox.
This has been Collateral Cinema. We are out.
Laters. Collateral Cinema is a Collateral Media podcast. All music and movie clips are owned by their respective creators and are used for educational purposes only. Please don't sue us. We're poor.